What's going on, you guys? RetroX Games back with another banger, and today we're going to be talking about which one of those handhelds is worth owning and modding in 2023. The first category we're going to talk about is the game library. So as you guys may already know, the game library is going to be different. On the PlayStation Vita, we have a really good game library that is mostly PlayStation games. And on the 3DS, we also have a great game library, which is also going to be mostly Nintendo games. So right off the bat, if you're more of a PlayStation fan, I would recommend the PS Vita. And if you're more of a Nintendo fan, I would recommend the 3DS for sure. Next category we're going to be talking about is modding. So when it comes to modding, as you guys know, both of these handhelds are super easy to mod. You can mod the system in less than 10 minutes from the device itself without the use of a computer. So for a lot of people that are just getting into modding, I feel like the PS Vita will be much easier to mod. The 3DS is also easy to mod, but it takes about 30 minutes. It's a little more complicated, but if you're decent at following written guides or YouTube tutorials, then you should be fine. Okay guys, so when it comes to the storage, the PS Vita is easily expandable with an SD card and an SD to Vita adapter. This right here is the SD to Vita adapter that you will need. You can get it from Amazon for like $6. And inside the adapter, you will need a micro SD card like this one over here. It doesn't have to be the same brand. Most of the brands that you will come across will work perfectly fine, but I prefer the Samsung ones or the SanDisk ones. And just for the record, I do have a 256 gigabyte storage on this SD card. I believe you can go up to 512 gigabyte, but I don't recommend it. I'm not 100% sure if it will slow down your system, but it happened with the 3DS. Just to let you guys know, this is what I did. Okay guys, so when it comes to the storage on the Nintendo 3DS, we will also be using a micro SD and a micro SD card adapter. Unlike my Vita, on my 3DS, I have 128 gigabytes of storage. Keep in mind, this will already slow down your system a little bit. So honestly, I don't recommend going anything over 256. So we talked about the storage, we talked about the game libraries. Now we're going to talk about emulation. When it comes to emulation, as you guys can see, I separated every category of the games in a separate folder. In this folder over here, we have all the PS1 games. I don't have many because I just like to download the games I want to play. And PS1 games will work perfectly fine on this console. In the second folder, we have our PSP games. As you guys can see, I have many different games over here. And just like the PS1 games, PSP games will work absolutely fine. Next folder over here, we have the Android ports. So another cool thing about the PS Vita is that you're able to play some of the Android ports of different games, like GTA 3, GTA San Andreas, and GTA Vice City, even GTA Chinatown Wars. There's a lot more like Bully and Max Payne, but these are the main ones I like, so I have them over here. So this folder right here, I have the apps I use to emulate these games. When you download these games to play right off the bat, you won't see them on your main screen over here. They'll be inside the emulators. But I have an app called Bubble Manager where I can just make shortcuts of the games I want on the main screen. So let me go ahead and show you guys the emulators I have over here. First, we have Adrenaline, which is the emulator I use to run PS1 and PSP games. Second emulator over here, we have MGBA. And this emulator will allow you to play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. This third one we have over here is the N64 emulator, and this one allows you to play N64 games. Now I gotta admit, not all N64 games will work fine, but most of them will. As you guys may or may not know, RetroArch is mostly for older games. Let's say you want to play Sega Genesis games, then this is the app that you will use. So next I will show you guys how every emulator runs so that you guys have an idea about the performance. So let's get right into it. So as you guys can see over here, the Spider-Man game on the PlayStation 1 works perfectly fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of the game just to show you guys. I'm not going to do much, I'm just going to move around, and as you guys can see, the game works pretty good. You can play with the screen resolution and the ratio, but I like to leave it on default, but if you ever wanted to do that, you're able to do it. Okay guys, so right now we're playing Ghost of Sparta. In my opinion, the game runs better than an actual PSP, and it even looks better. And even in today's standards, this game still looks really good. Alright guys, so moving on to the Game Boy Advance game. Right here we have Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors, and as you guys can see, the game runs perfectly fine. You can even press the square to change the screen ratio, and overall it's a great experience. It almost runs just as good as my actual Game Boy Advance. Next we have Mario Kart 64 using the 64 emulator. Let's go ahead and see how the game runs. I think it should run perfectly fine. And check it out, guys. The game runs perfectly fine. I don't see any lag or frame drops. I think overall it's a solid experience if you want to play N64 games. Alright guys, so next we got San Andreas, the Android port. Alright, and as you guys can see, the game runs perfectly fine. It does have some frame drops here and there, but nothing too serious. The game is still very playable. And driving around the city, the game looks absolutely fine. Everything is smooth, everything is playable, and the graphics look pretty good as well. Alright guys, so I won't be showing you RetroArch because I don't have it set up yet. But yeah guys, let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you guys. And let me also give you an idea of what games you can download on here. These are some PS Vita games over here. Great titles, by the way. And as you guys can see, the list just goes on. Everything is good. And even it has custom themes, which is honestly awesome. Okay, so now we're on my modded 3DS. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this system. You can download custom themes like I have over here, and obviously play all the 3DS games that you guys like. Now when it comes to the 3DS, you can download an app called Twilight Menu Plus, and with this app you're able to play all your DS, NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance games. Now I don't have this app to show you guys because I don't have enough storage to have DS games, so I mainly just have 3DS games on here. So similarly with the 3DS, you're able to play PS1 games, but again, for the same reason, the storage, I don't have any PS1 games over here. So as you guys saw, when you mod both consoles, you'll be able to emulate a ton of games, retro games, newer games, and even Android ports. And as I mentioned before, the 3DS will have its own library and the PS Vita will have its own library as well. And as you guys saw, both the 3DS and the PS Vita are great handhelds, and they both can do pretty much the same things. If I were to pick one between the two, I would go with the PS Vita. I feel like it does a little bit more with emulation. But like I said earlier in the video, it all comes down to if you're more of a PlayStation fan or a Nintendo fan. Because on the 3DS, you're not able to play PS Vita or PSP games. And on the Vita, you cannot play 3DS games. So right off the bat, that's a big deal breaker for most people. So the final choice is yours. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Write it down in the comments. And as you guys may or may not know, this is actually my second video on YouTube, and I'm still working on the quality and everything else. So I'm planning to make my next video on the Wii U. So if you have any questions about modding or anything, stay tuned for that video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. RetroX Games out.